Hi, good morning, everyone. This is TC here.
Good morning, Easy Ashish.
Ashish, hey, how are you? You guys
I'm
are
good.
early. I see 30 people in the room already.
Yeah, right.
Fantastic. How is everybody in India?
Yeah, there.
Staying safe?
Yes, we are. How about you?
Yeah, I'm just, being a good citizen, stay at home. You see my room? Pinky. Ashish, you look like you're grass.
Yeah, right. I'm using my watch.
Yeah,
I'm
your
just
virtual
using my
background, but I
watch.
think your virtual background is imposed wrongly, like the reverse.
Right. I
Instead of
have
the
to just change
background
it.
is
Yeah.
covering your face instead. So India is on lockdown too, right?
Yeah, right.
Everywhere. My God.
I think 34 people have joined now.
Yeah, I can see that. I have a lot. Any people from Gastech?
Ravindra, I can't see him right now. But we have Intertouch team, we have RiverNet team, we have
Yes.
Microsense team.
Microsense Zero Net.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So I do have Gastech on the invite list. Yeah. Okay. So you guys are early, so just chill out a bit and yeah, get yourself comfortable. I got a greeting from Rajesh. Good morning. Yeah. Yeah. So get coffee or whatever your breakfast, and just chill out a little bit. Okay.
Sure.
We're in for 2 fun days. You guys can see my video and hear me clear, right? Sound check.
Yes.
Sound check.
Yes. Clear.
44.
Hi, Surya.
Hi, Ashish. Hi, TC.
Hey, Surya.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Virtually.
I can't say the same though because I can't see anybody except myself.
Better don't see anybody.
Hang on. Ashish, better don't see anybody. Why? Because everybody will be like in their pajamas and disheveled hair.
No haircut. No haircut for more than
Yeah,
3
no
weeks.
haircut for same here. Almost a month for me. My hair is getting long, and my wife offered to cut, and I was thinking, let me think about it.
Still, you and Ashish looks better, I guess. That's why you're on video. We would love to see you, Surya, also.
Yeah, you haven't seen my bottom half.
You get to see those funny videos in your
Yeah, did you
WhatsApp
see?
and
Did you see
chat.
somebody posted on video about a company meeting where the
Yeah,
guy didn't realize his video was
yeah,
on and he was in underpants and he got
yeah,
up and
yeah,
walk around and scratch his butt.
yeah.
Oh man, that's a joke.
Hi, Madhav.
Hi Surya, good morning. How are you?
Morning. Hi, Jaideep. Rajesh.
Hi Surya, how are you?
Doing good.
Hi Surya.
Hi,
Hi
Jaideep.
TC.
Hi, who's that?
These are our
Jaideep.
Jaideep.
Jaideep,
Intertouch.
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 Nice to see you.
I guess everybody is okay at their own places.
Yes, we are. Hi Lee, hi Rajesh, hi Ashish, Balbir this side. Hi
Yeah.
everyone. Hi Balbir.
So you
Hi
guys can't
everyone.
you guys can't go to customer site anymore, right?
No, it's lockdown.
Yeah.
It's completely locked down.
Yep.
Hi, Ravindra.
Hi, boss.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and we will get kicked off in 3 minutes. We've got 46 in the room. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for participating. Okay, hold on a second. Da, da, da. Uh, 48. Okay, share screen. All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen. It is on the first slide, Aruba Hospitality Best Practices Session 1.
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay, so in case my connection breaks off, I have a monitor here, but I do occasionally get about 1-2 minute outage for some reason. ISP. I'm in the Philippines, by the way, so it's not exactly the best place for internet. So bear with me, and I will get back in. Just stay put. All right. So this period is a bad time for everybody. It's not just hospitality, it's everybody. And the main thing you can do right now is to stay safe, don't get it, and don't spread it. All right. Make sure that what do you call it? We don't have a Christmas attitude towards this. Giving is or sharing is caring. Unfortunately, not with the virus. Okay, I also have something that I want to check. Okay, I have a couple of polls that I want to run. And the first one, before we begin, I am going to launch this poll, and it basically allows me, I want to know your role or roles in your organization. So you may be sales or pre-sales, or you may be doing multiple roles. If you're kind of like all in one, just tick them all. So I'm going to launch the polling, and I want you guys to respond to that. And I have my screen shared, so you can also see the results. So just go ahead, respond to the poll. I noticed there's no support personnel, no post sales. Now a few post sales are coming up. One.
Is there post sales is also there?
Yeah. Yep, it's coming up. So that's just for me to understand the audience a little bit better. Understanding your roles. Okay. So everybody polled already? Yeah. Hang on, let me just take a quick check on the chat window.
You got 54 votes.
Whoops. I am not able to hear anything. Uh-oh. Arun. Arun says he can't hear. Audio is fine now. Okay, great. Yeah, 42. So what's the number we have? 55. So yeah, a few people
55,
still
yeah.
have not answered, but they could be just settling in. Okay, that's fine. Just have a good understanding of who the audience are mainly. There's quite a lot of installer and configuration folks here and some sales. Okay, good. Fantastic. All right, good. I'm ending the polling, so no worries. It's okay, share results. Let me close this up. Okay, let's get started. Hang on, Ashish, do you want to kind of have a quick word to open? Or Surya? No?
No, it's okay.
Okay, it's okay. All right,
Yeah.
so let's get kicked off. Well, welcome and good morning, everyone. And this is a 2-day session or 2 sessions workshop, where today we're going to cover some items, and these are the agenda. We're going to go through what Aruba has for hospitality in terms of what our vision is and why we're coming into hospitality. We look at architectures, and this is going to form the bulk of the morning session, half of it, at least half of it, or more than half of it. So we'll have a 5-minute break because it's a total of 3 hours. We'll have a break somewhere, and then get into a little bit of competitive and how we build the bomb, and talk about support. How do you get support? Okay, so we get into this, and then tomorrow we will be covering a little bit more technical stuff related to how you do survey, how you do design, and troubleshooting, and also with the new Wi-Fi 6 technology. Okay, so let's get started. Quick introduction. Myself, I'm TC Lee. I think some of you already know me. I do not know all of you, I believe, but it will be a pleasure at some point in time to get to meet you in person, okay, when the COVID-19 situation is better. I was supposed to travel to India in February, but didn't happen, okay? So unfortunately from there, everything just grind to a halt. So it's not a good time for our market, for hospitality, but it's not a good time for anybody, to be honest. I don't think it's just limited to us. The impact is huge. Okay, so so I'm going to start off with our vision and why Aruba. And I think, for most of you, you probably know that Aruba traditionally in the past did not focus on hospitality because, we had a lot of products, we had a lot of features in our products that were, more suited for the enterprise, finance, banking, healthcare, those kind of environments where security is more required. But in hospitality, in the past, there had been very little emphasis on security because the network that you're providing is usually the guest network, which doesn't require security. You want everybody to get on. You don't care who they are. You don't control them. So you really don't need a whole lot of security in there. But fast forward, right? The past few years, we start to see things changing in the industry, and the industry is starting to move towards trying to build a hotel of the future where you can, support IoT. And because of that, you need convergence in a network, and suddenly you have to deal with security. Okay, so we are now able to bring our strength in enterprise networking into this industry to enable our customers to build intelligent networks, to build adaptable networks, to build highly secure networks, to support their vision. Okay, and not only that, we actually came up with, and this happened over the past year, a global hospitality team, okay, as well as regional ones in all the theaters. And the goal of this is really, to, in a way, I could say we replicate Ruckus, right? I spent 3 years in Ruckus as hospitality SE, and we had a global hospitality team with, folks in the US, folks in Europe, and in Asia. And I was the CSE for hospitality for Ruckus in Asia, and that's how I get to know most of you, I believe. All right, and we are doing the same thing in Aruba, and that basically goes to show how serious we are to tackle this market, to address the needs of this market. The global team, we are involved in product management, meaning that we provide feedback to the product team in terms of what are the features that hospitality needs. We build ecosystem, okay, and I will share with you some of these players that we are interworking with, and we get them on board as Aruba partners. We do integration. Okay, so overall, we are starting to build out that solution, okay, to provide a simple, stable, and secure infrastructure that is required for hotels to roll out IoT at scale, securely, okay? Not only that, but we also want to enable our customers, our hotel customers, to do automation and to link with their loyalty systems or their marketing engine to provide personalized solutions. So that is where we are headed towards as an organization. So this is our global hospitality team. Can you see my slide? Just to be sure that the lag in the transmission matches up with my speech.
Yes, we can see it.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you. And this global hospitality team is led by our head of hospitality, Susie Tris. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just going to plug in something so that I can use my little pointer. So Susie Tris heads up this team. She's based in Atlanta. And she is supported by a business architect by the name of Bill or William Gustafson, okay? And that's global. At APJ, we just recently, Anthony had just recently retired due to health reason, and we've got Derek Lee, just came on board just a week ago, about a week ago, almost 2 weeks now, to head up the hospitality business in APJ. So I don't know if he's in on the call, but at some point we will introduce him to all of you, and we will make our rounds to meet our customers and our partners. Okay, so Derek Lee, previously from Fortinet, and he was also Aruba country manager, I think back in 2008 or something like that, for about 4 years. Okay, and I'm supporting him as the technical staff. Okay, and in Asia, you probably know Steve Woods, heads up the APJ region. India, we have Surya previously, and then Ashish, and they still continue to drive the hospitality market in India. Okay, and for the rest of it, there are the different countries and the sales that are hospitality focused in those countries identified here. Okay, so what is our vision? Our vision is to revolutionize the way we connect and experience the digital and the physical world. So really trying to bridge those two worlds, the physical and the digital. And what we want to do is to create the edge platform which our customers can innovate in this experience economy. Okay, that is fundamentally, as an organization, what we want to do, regardless of the vertical. Okay, but how are we approaching hospitality? Today, there are 3 big fears in our generations. Okay, hold on. I'm getting a bit of background noise from some of you, so I'm going to have to mute some folks. All right.
If you can mute everybody, that will be fine.
Yeah. Let me see if is there a mute all, unmute all, mute all. Okay. Yeah. All participants. Yeah. Okay. Great. So today in our generation, we have three big fears, and this slide, you probably can relate to it, right? When you see poor Wi-Fi signal, when it loads very slowly on your phone or the web page on your laptop, or you run out of battery. Okay, these are the three big fears of our generation, and it's a new problem. I mean, it's a first world problem, if you like. Uh, so what I typically like to do is to be able to ask our customers, all right, what is the vision for your hotel in the next 3 to 5 years? Okay, and you want them to think, and I'm sure you are also thinking about this, right? Yeah, if you're in this business, in this industry, what is going to happen to the hospitality industry going forward? And what we see talking to our customers is the hotels want everything to be connected. Okay, that's one thing. And the second thing, they want the hotel, the building to be intelligent, the room to be intelligent. And you see that in the initiatives that Hilton is working on, Marriott is working on. If you see the Marriott concept guest room, a lot of stuff are personalized and they are smart, so to speak. Okay, you can have a mirror in the room that is personalized to you. So when you're checked in, it's linked to your calendar. So as you get up in the morning and brush your teeth and against the mirror, you will see your appointments coming up. Okay, and the room knows you. You know the room. Well, you don't know the room really, but the room knows you. Actually, that was Hilton's slogan. The room knows you. The room is intelligent, right? And you use the mobile app to control it. So both of these brands are, creating the concept of the hotel of the future that basically has a lot of intelligence built in and a lot of personalization built in too. In Marriott concept guest room, you could upload pictures, your family pictures, into your profile. And when you check into the hotel, they have digital photo frames. Okay, the minute you're checked in or the room is assigned to you, they push all your pictures, family pictures, into the digital photo frame. So when you step into the room, it feels like you're at home. You see all your family pictures, you see your wife, your kids, yeah, stuff like that. So it makes for that personalized feel and that home away from home sensation. And even the lightings are personalized. The mood it sets up, in the morning, in the evening, it's all customized and it's all personalized. So this is what we see. And in order for that to happen, everything has to be connected, not just guest Wi-Fi. Okay. And there are obviously, things that are driving this. IoT is a big part of this. Big data is another. And finally, our mobile-centric behavior. So these three pillars of technology trends are driving a lot of initiatives, if you like, where hotels are trying to look into, okay, how can we provide guest room automation? How can we, understand our guests and create a room, an environment that is comfortable for him, that makes him feel at home? How can we do predictive maintenance, fix things before they break, instead of having the guests call up and complain that the light is not working or the air conditioning is not working? How can we increase engagement with the guests to increase satisfaction? And how can we personalize it? How can we make use of location to have better interaction with the guests depending on where he is? Okay. And with all that stuff, how can we offer more natural user interfaces? In the past, we, as a guest, the only way to interact with a hotel is you either walk down to the front desk or call any staff along the corridor, or you pick up the phone, the hotel phone, right, in a room. But now what people are doing is providing mobile apps. You see Marriott have it, Hilton has it, and you can text. And that fits into the millennial generation, where we're comfortable with all the WhatsApp and the messenger stuff, where you can text. Some hotels have a bot behind it to respond to basic requests. Some hotels put real people behind it to respond to basic requests. Okay, but with all these integrations, you actually open up to even more possibilities, not just text or voice, but you could enable voice activation, like Amazon Echo, Alexa, or Google Home, right? Maybe in the future for the shucks, my Amazon Echo responded. And maybe in the future, even what do you call it, for the deaf and the mute, even actions, motion detection, right? Sign language. So the more you have integrated, the more you have the ability to expose to multiple user interfaces, multiple ways of interacting with the hotel or the property. Okay. And in hotels today, we know, all right, it comprises of multiple networks, and you guys are involved in it, a lot of it. One of it is IoT, and here I'm talking about the door locks specifically. When you have a door lock system that you need to get online, you need to have Zigbee gateways, for example. Okay, you need to run cables, install the Zigbee hubs, and install a server running the door lock management system, like SI Abloy Vision Online. So you need one network for that. I call it the IoT network. It could be other kinds of IoT network, not just door locks, staff safety, for example, with Bluetooth. And we'll talk about that with Track and Protect. Okay. And you have that ubiquitous guest network, the ones that most of us are involved in building, right? Guest network for the hotel to provide Wi-Fi. Finally, you have the back of house, the admin network. Sometimes it's the same partner doing both. Sometimes it's a separate one, depending on the brand standard. Okay, and a lot of hotels keep them separate. There are some hotels that integrate them in a loose manner. I know that, and this, I mean, the security is a basic security, a firewall in between them. That's it. Okay, right. And some hotels like Hyatt, for example, it's mandated. It has to be separate switches, separate APs. Okay, so one of the things that you'll find out of this is the hotel will have to invest in multiple sets of switches, cables, and access devices, and it makes it a problem. For example, in your admin network, I did a POC with Shangri-La in the past. In the admin network, if you want to what do you call it? Allow mobile check-in in the room, for example, you have APs in the room already, and if you're going to have an admin SSID for checking in, secured SSID for checking in, that's PCI compliance, does that mean that you got to put a second AP in there? These are the kind of situations that the hotels are getting into, and there's a trade-off, right, between convenience and security, and investment and security. If you share the same AP, then there are security concerns. Right? If you don't, then there's investment concerns. You're putting two APs in a room, which, by the way, some hotels actually do, just to have separate infrastructure in place. For some of the operational systems which are non-guest, they actually have two set of equipment there. So it's costly. Okay. What if we can converge them into an IoT hub where the AP can support all three networks, IoT, guest, and admin, with different protocols. So you have Wi-Fi protocol that supports both the guest and the backup house, and even some IoT, okay, like Chromecast, which runs on Wi-Fi. Some of the bedside panels that guests use to control, lightings and curtains and temperature, they are connected on Wi-Fi too. But it is not a guest network. It is a operations network, ELV, or electrical low voltage network. Okay. And obviously for your staff, if they want to check in guests, they need to be connected to backup house somehow. So that's again on Wi-Fi too. And also BLE, another protocol, which can support some other kind of functions, like for example, with Aruba Asset Tags. So we have Asset Tags, this round little coin device here that the hotel can deploy to track their assets. When I say track the assets, I mean, things like trolleys, housekeeping, food trolleys, those kind of assets that goes around, that are shared. even projectors in some cases where it is shared in across different ballrooms. Those are high value assets that you can track with Aruba Asset Tax, and those work on BLE. We also have partner solutions like over here, I have a panic button from Track and Protect, and that is a solution that runs off BLE. And again, without this IoT hub, without the AP supporting BLE, the hotel would have to buy BLE receivers, separate BLE receivers to install in every room. That is additional costs as well. And if you are using, door locks, which needs to be online, like Asa Abloy or Dormakaba or Salto, they also need some kind of connectivity. And as I mentioned earlier, in the past, the hotel would have to have Zigbee hubs installed along the corridors for all these door locks to communicate with their Vision Online system, the backend system, to know when the door is open, when the door is closed, to erase a key, invalidate the key, or reactivate the key, things like that, right? So if those door locks can communicate instead of with a Zigbee hub, the AP can carry that Zigbee communications through for the on behalf of the door locks to the Vision Online system. Then you have a converged networks where you now consolidate the switch ports, the cablings, and the access devices. And this is going to lead to overall savings in overall cost. You have less cables, you have fewer switches, and you have fewer access devices. So we have to look at it and take a step back and look at it. Don't compare the Aruba Wi-Fi and switching prices, infrastructure price, with Ruckus. Don't just do that very siloed comparison. Step back and look at the entire investment the hotel has to put in. How can we help the hotel save? And one way is convergence. Okay, when you have fewer access devices, fewer switches, because you're converging them, obviously you're going to save overall cost. And we are seeing our customers seeing that picture better, understanding that, hey, I don't need to have a separate cabling and switches for some other services that I'm running within the hotel. So as partners, if you see these kind of scenarios, I want you to step back and take a look, what else can we bring together to bring better savings to the hotel, right? The reason why this is interesting is because this convergence also brings about security risks. And that's why people keep them separate, because to play safe, you want to keep them separate. You're not feeling comfortable with whoever manages the gas network. Are they compliant? Are they able to maintain compliance? Are they able to maintain security? And that is a definite risk. Okay, but again, with Aruba, we have the security solutions required. We have things like dynamic segmentation, we have device insights, and this is exactly what Peninsula has started to realize. They have been running Cisco and Ruckus all this while for many years, okay? And when we presented to them what we have, it started to dawn on them that this is a better solution, because by integrating all this and putting a security network access control appliance in the heart of it to manage access will allow cost savings for them, ultimate cost savings for them. Okay, so and better security as well. So not just the savings part, but also improving the security. So they used to have 2 APs in every room. One for the ELV network for the devices in the rooms and entertainment systems and all that stuff. Another for guests, purely for guests, and you keep them separate cables, separate switches. It was expensive. Every room, they have a 48 port switch for all the devices inside the room. And you know what's interesting? They hit into issues when they do maintenance. When they plug out cables and replace the switch, and they plug back in the wrong ports, screw it, things don't work, and they have to troubleshoot. But with Aruba, they're able to actually have a simplified switch configuration, replace the switch. ClearPass handles all the authentication and the profiling. And they just plug the cables into any ports without having to worry that things will fail. And it brings better security because now I do not worry about, say, pulling out a cable for the CCTV camera and having somebody, plug in their laptop and access the surveillance network, right? Because we control access. Get it? So this is bringing about some eye openers to some people in the industry. So in terms of vendor selection, we start to see and feel that for hotels to be able to move up this path to realize their vision of the intelligent hotel, they need to have enterprise grade vendor for the infrastructure with strong security features. So the time has changed. It's no longer just talking about guest network. Okay. And to give an example of how IoT brings about risk like this, we look back at 2017. So this is a few years back already, and I probably need to find some more examples like that. But a casino in North America installed a fish tank. It's a small casino, so luckily it's not a high-profile one, but they install a smart fish tank, which requires internet connectivity, right? So they hook it up to the network, provide internet. And guess what? Cyber criminals were able to enter the network via the internet connection of the smart fish tank. And then from there, they moved laterally through the network and started to dig for data of the high rollers, the customers of the casino. So you can Google this little report, quite an interesting one. But these are the threats or the vulnerabilities that IoT will bring. However, there's no way we can get away from it. IoT is here to stay. There's nothing, it's a train that you can't stop, okay? So how best to deal with this threat? That is to have a secure infrastructure in place, okay? All right, next, with this global hospitality team in Aruba, one of the things that I want to stress to you is that Aruba is not just focused on trying to move boxes, getting you to sell hardware, getting you to buy hardware, getting the hotel to buy hardware, switches and APs. No. What we want to do is to align with our customers on their business drivers. What is it that they want to do? What is it that is important to them? Is it guest experience? We want to know that. We want to understand. Is it associate experience? Are they trying to work on associate satisfaction and productivity and being able to create more personalization by being able to feed information to associates when guests enters in their proximity in order for the associate to know, hey, there's this guest that was here 3 months ago and his name is so and so. This is some basic data, and allow the associate to interact with the guest in a personalized way. Okay, so that they feel the warmth of the brand. Is the hotel focused or concerned about global growth? Is that brand expanding to regions, new markets, and creating loyalty programs, grow loyalty programs? Or are they trying to bring about owner value? Obviously, owner value is the bottom line for most hotels. So how do we increase owner value? One of the big thing is reduce on-premise costs. And that's why we see many initiatives in hotels and brands moving to cloud. Marriott is now starting to do that. We are working with Dick Wagner in the US, for the past few months, basically getting our gear into their labs, as well as testing, Aruba Central cloud management and getting analytics data. This is what Marriott is going to introduce in the, I think in the next round of GPNS requirements, is to make analytics, connectivity analytics, a requirement for GPNS approved vendors. So as a GPNS vendor, eventually you will find that Marriott will be asking you, can you provide me a network analytics about how the network is performing? Data about connections, time of connection, duration of connections, quality of connections, fault areas. Where are, like, say, authentication? What kind of value or threshold people taking to authenticate? Okay, and how is the DHCP performing? How is the DNS performing? Data like this that helps the hotel understand connectivity experience within the property. Okay, so these are some of the things that we see, and you'll find that if there's a way for hotels to get guest data, get associate data, and IoT data, and bring them together, you will have the ability to create workflows. You will have the ability to orchestrate your service. And this is, I think, ultimately, the holy grail in hospitality, because when you do that, you can fulfill your guest service, fulfillment, really, and get things done for the guest to their satisfaction, okay, in a personalized way. So in order to do all that stuff, you got to have infrastructure that has got certain level of characteristics, like being location aware, understanding, where people are, where crowds are, understand and having the ability to support APIs, because you need to be able to get data out from the infrastructure. Get data out about the infrastructure, not just about the infrastructure, but also about the users, about the quality of their connections, right? And if you're going to do this across multiple properties, then it has to be above property. Whatever the platform you have must be in the cloud that is linked to all the properties, that allows you to extract data from all of them so that you can use it across all properties. So when I authenticate into, say, one property, say in, I don't know, Gorgon, for example, for one brand, when I move to a different country or even a different city, right, same brand, can I be authenticated seamlessly without having to log in every time that I enter into the property? To do that, you need to have an above property system, a platform that allows you to deal with this, not just authentication process, but also getting data from each property and allowing you to compare, to analyze the performance across properties, and to manage all properties easily. So if you are going to standardize on, say, certain networks and you're creating them, you can create it across all properties at one go. Okay, so this are some of the things that we see that is imperative for hotels to move on to the next level. And this alignment to our customers' strategy, that is why I say I don't want to be just moving boxes and selling hardware. We want to understand from our customers, from you, our partners who are close to the customer, what is it that allows us to bring value to the hotel? Do they have certain objectives, with regards to customer experience? Do they have certain objectives to streamlining operations? And what are these objectives? How do they translate to the projects or the initiatives that they have? Is it physical security? Is it energy management? Is it workforce management? And who are their suppliers, the other vendors? Is it income for room control, door locks, or entertainment system, or signage, or associate safety? Who are the partners? We are willing to listen. We are willing to do integration if necessary. Okay, and map it to our technologies, whether is it wired, Wi-Fi, or location solutions like Aruba beacons, or even ALE, our location analytics engine, or ClearPass, our security solution. Okay, so we are doing this with Peninsula as a brand at corporate level, and we're also trying to do this with Shangri-La as a brand at a corporate level, so that they have a consistent architecture, a consistent infrastructure that provides the same data that they can use across all properties. All right. So this is one way to represent, if you like, a smart net or intelligent network, a network that is able to act as a sensor, eyes and ears for the hotel. So this network will be able to provide you information which you can leverage from a business and a marketing perspective, right? Understanding your guests better. So in most hotels, and brands. They know the customer's behavior when prior to booking, because the customer goes to the website, they browse, properties, and they know which are the cities they're looking for rooms and what dates, because they will click on the dates and see if there are any available rooms, click on pictures of the rooms. These are all tracked on their website. So the hotel knows the customer and what the customer is thinking about and looking for. But the minute the customer steps into the property, the hotel actually loses sight, loses visibility of the customer until he checks out. Obviously, yes, the hotel can do a sort of a post, post visit or post travel extract from the POS system. Collect the information and see how much is the guest spending on, that's from the PMS system as well. So they can build that up, but it's not real time, and it's actually quite difficult to get that data somehow consolidated. But if the network can provide some of this information, you actually get it real time. So arrival can be detected by Wi-Fi because the user tries to connect. And when he goes to the front desk, we can use location beacons to detect his presence. When he gets to the guest room, we can either use Wi-Fi or make use of Zigbee, the door locks, door status, to know that he's entered. Okay. Restaurants could be through beacons, and so on. So the ability to track when the guest was where and how much time they spend in those spaces there becomes data that the hotel could use. Okay. And to this end, if any of you have been to Atmosphere in 2018, this was the demo that I had set up in 2018 with some partners. We had a partner from Singapore, G-Trip, that does documentless travel and mobile check-in, and we integrate with them with our beacons technology. So because they wanted to be able to, and that's because of requirements, legal requirements by some countries, you've got to be able to only check in if you're on premise at the hotel. Okay, you can't do a remote check-in, for example. So you got to be there, and you got to be seen, meaning people got to look at your face to know that you're the person checking in. So the mobile app has got Meridian, our beacons technology integrated with it. So when they step in the hotel, they can activate the check-in button. And so the guest steps in, he doesn't have to queue at the front desk. He goes to the lobby bar. And the check-in option will be available because he's detected within premises. He does the check-in, he has to take a selfie picture of himself. Okay, and fill out some details, provide his passport, and submit it. And then the hotel will get a notification to say that there's a guest check-in, and he can review or she can review the check-in details to make sure that everything is consistent and the person is who he is. And when that check-in is approved, a mobile key is pushed to the guest's phone, and he can navigate his way to the room and use his phone to open that door. And because that door, that's from Asset Abloy, is connected to Zigbee to our AP, we can transmit that status to the Vision Online system, and then we get an event in Vision Online that this door is open. And once the user steps in, the lights come on because we put in beacons to detect the guest presence in the room. And because we know his identity from the mobile app, we can set up the lights and the air conditioning based on his preference. Okay. And we also had a partnership with Chargify. So we put in a wireless charging pad that allows the guest to charge his phone. And this pad is on the desk and can be on the bedside as well, both sides of the bed. So he can charge his phone easily without being tethered to a specific point. And this mobile wireless charging app is not only it not only provides charging, but it has got a backend, a cloud backend that allows us to push notifications. If we detect the charger is being used, we can push notifications to the guest. Okay. And we also introduce our UXI sensor that measures guest experience. So basically, this sensor acts as a tester, a robot tester, if you like, that will connect to the Wi-Fi network, and they will, basically do some tests against some applications, and provide you analysis of what the experience looks like. Okay. We also introduce Amazon Echo. So by putting Amazon Echo in here, that is IoT. It requires Wi-Fi, and it requires a pre-shared key, a specific type of wireless network, which is not very secure. So when you want to introduce devices like this, how do you secure your network? And that is where ClearPass comes in. We have then the ability to provide network access control for the various devices that tries to connect in. We make sure that the authorized ones are allowed, and it allows the hotel to roll it out on a large scale. Because if not, you have to register every single MAC address, all the time, and it becomes cumbersome. Okay. And by having Amazon Echo there, we have then the ability to use voice activation. And we create a little demo about asking the hotel for amenities, for toothpaste, for combs, for soap, shampoo, or even room service. Okay, so it creates an additional dimension for interacting with the room and the hotel. All right. So these are some of the partners that we have, we are continuing to build relationships with. For the door locks, we have Asset Abloy. We are very close to completion with Asset Abloy. We have passed all the tests, and we are now going to roll out a beta with Nobu hotels in the US. Okay. Dormakaba, we just started engagement with them through Peninsula, because Peninsula uses Dormakaba exclusively. So they have started to ask Dormakaba to talk to us to do integration. We are already integrating with Salto. It's currently in progress, and we're trying to get hold of Onity as well. Okay. The energy management, these are the room controls and what do you call it? I don't know, lighting and air conditioning control within the entire building. Staff safety, we have integration done and a live case for Track and Protect. So Track and Protect was deployed in a casino in the US called The Casino Hotel. Yeah, and they deploy Track and Protect panic buttons. So these panic buttons allow the housekeeping, if they are being assaulted or harassed, they could get help by pressing the panic button. And this transmit a Bluetooth signal to our APs. Our APs pick it up, send the payload to Track and Protect backend system, and that's when they can identify who this staff is and where she is, which room, because of the Bluetooth trilateration from our APs. Okay. React Mobile, same thing. Physical security, we have Patrocinium and Inbobox, and for analytics, location analytics, we have Skyfi, Kiana, and also Nevotech. Okay, so if you guys have any local partners that are strong or have good footprint within the industry in India, we're more than happy to get introduced and look at the possibility of integrating Bluetooth, Zigbee, Wi-Fi, and Ethernet. Obviously, these are the 4 points of integration. Okay. So in summary, with Aruba, you'll find that you have a couple of things. Number one, you get the advantage of cloud for above property visibility and analytics. Okay. And you also have the advantage of, with the secure solutions that we can offer, the advantage of creating a converged networks that will save overall costs for the hotel and support IoT going forward. Okay. All right. So that's my introduction for a start. And I just want to pause here to see if there are any questions. You can unmute yourself or put in the chat window if you like, if there are any.
Guys, anybody have a question? You can ask, or you can type also your question.
Okay. Now I won't be able to see the chat box if you type in.
No, I will see the chat box.
Yeah, so I will have to get some help from that. I see Biplat. Hi, Biplat. How are you?
Good. You see,
Great.
I am
Okay.
there. Good.
Fantastic. 66. Great. Big crowd. Okay. If no questions, let me move on to architecture. Okay. So Aruba architectures, and here, basically, I don't think this is new information to you. We have basically two options, right? You have centralized architecture with the controller based deployment or the controller installs, and we also have distributed architecture with Aruba Inkston. Okay, so we're gonna quickly run through them. With controller-based installs, you have controllers that sits in the core network. This is the core switch over here, and on the top here is a cluster of controllers. Obviously, for most hotels, it won't be that many unless it's really huge. Typically, you have like 2 controllers at most. Okay, and with the APs connected to the edge, one of the things that we offer is with the SSIDs that you create is a tunnel SSIDs, right? That's the default Aruba or traditional Aruba deployment method, or the traffic forwarding method, tunnel SSIDs. And this is preferred, this is recommended. Okay, so the components of this centralized architecture obviously involves mobility controllers. Now, there is a question of mobility master, and my answer to you is you will not use mobility master unless it's a very large property above 1,000 or so APs. Okay, and another component could be, okay, not a mandatory, but could be a management software called Airwave on-prem. Okay, so this today comprises of centralized architecture, and if you use this method, then tunnel SSIDs, tunnel option, forwarding option is the preferred way of doing it. There are some partners that like to do bridge because they come from the Ruckus world, and Ruckus is bridged mode, meaning that the SSID allows the traffic to come into the AP. The AP handles the decryption, tags the VLAN, and send it out to the network. So there is no single point of failure with the controller in that case. Well, that is great, for Ruckus. But with Aruba, our traditional architecture, yes, we support bridge, but recommended is to use tunnel. And there are a couple of reasons. Tunnel SSID gives you better security. It also allows you to support converged networks better. Okay, because if you have an admin SSID, I can tunnel the traffic from the admin securely through all the untrusted part of the network into the core, where I can have one connection, dedicated connection to your admin network or your back of house network. Okay, and obviously that has to go to the back of house firewall, but it gives you the ability to protect your traffic through the untrusted network. Okay, and we'll take a look at the architecture later on. Here it is. So in a controller-based setup, you have on the left here is the trusted network, which is the admin. So that comprises of access, core, and the firewall, as well as some switches for admin systems. Okay. And then the untrusted network, which is the guest network, which most of us deploy. Okay, you have the guest core, you have the guest distribution or edge, okay, depending on the size of your hotel. And all the APs are connected to the edge switches. So if you have an admin SSID that you are running, or even for other purpose like IoT, I can tunnel the traffic securely into my controllers here and have one leg of the controller go into my admin network securely. I have no risk in this case. Compared with bridge mode, if it's bridge mode, then you got to have a VLAN in your edge switches, which has got to go into your admin, got to go through your core and into your admin. So that brings about additional risk because somebody can tap a VLAN. So even before you get into the core, into your firewall, I could tap into it. Okay, I see some chat messages coming up.
Two questions are there. First question is asked by Dipankar. This tunnel is created automatically or we need to create?
So when you create the SSID, you select the option, whether you want tunnel or you want bridge. And this is where I'm saying that traditionally Aruba's standard deployment for controller base is tunnel. And I will recommend you to use tunnel. Okay, because I've seen some deployment with bridge mode. They work, okay, don't get me wrong, but I would still recommend that you stick with tunnel mode. There are some features that changes or behave differently when you use bridge mode and tunnel mode. One of them is client isolation for guest network. Okay. All right. So next question from Rajesh is tunnel similar to CapWeb? That Cisco, yes, that is correct. So that tunnel is IPsec. It is encrypted. Ruckus has a tunnel mode too. But the tunnel mode, when you create the SSID, the tunnel mode is not encrypted. It is encapsulated. So in Aruba, you got to understand that the wireless encryption, let's say you have admin SSID and it is using pre-shared key or using .1x, WPA2 enterprise or WPA2 personal. When the traffic is encrypted from your device to reaches the AP does not decrypt. The AP will send it encrypted through the tunnel, which is IPsec, and it arrives at the controller encrypted. So even if I am, say part of the team that operates the guest network, the untrusted network, even have access to all the switches, I can tap the VLANs. I cannot see the traffic coming through to the admin network. I cannot intercept. Get it? So that's where things kind of change, right? When you have a convergence. A bridge mode setup does not allow you to do that convergence as effectively from a security point of view. Okay. What about the scenarios when controller fail in the tunnel environment? Yes, you're right. So if the controller fail, then yes, there will be a problem. Your Wi-Fi will not work because the tunnel is broken. And that is where in Aruba, we do have to provide two controllers as redundant. And I will talk about redundancy setup. There is some guidelines and even the configuration sets for redundancy. Yes, you do have to provide that. So there are some trade-offs, all right, the good and the bad of it, okay? So I'm just sharing with you, some of the considerations and what are the pros and the cons, all right? Okay, what about, yeah, okay, so that's it for the questions we have. So in this environment, okay, the controller sitting in the network, yes, have to be redundant. Yes, you can run with one, and you just have to pray and hope that there's no failure. Which, by the way, it has happened, meaning that people have deployed it with one controller for years and without any issues, without any failure. Sorry, my neighborhood is full of dogs here. You might hear some barking and all that. I don't know if they're hungry or what. Okay, so this is the controller architecture, and this is the way that we provide connectivity into the admin network securely that enables us to build a converged infrastructure. Okay, question is, which data is encrypted between AP and controller using So AP to controller is on IPsec tunnels, okay? But from user to controller is your WPA2, your AES encryption, okay? All right, so that's the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is the distributed architecture. Okay, so this is where we can use Inkston with Central. So distributed architecture relies on Aruba Inkston, and I'm sure some of you may have experience with this. And Aruba Inkston basically is APs running in standalone mode, but they do have a certain behavior. When they see other APs in standalone mode without a controller, they kind of group together, okay, and appoint one of them as a leader. We call it a virtual controller. So you get this virtual controller that you can do configuration, and that configuration gets pushed to the rest of the clusters, so it simplifies your deployment. Now, in this scenario, all traffic is breached. The traffic forwarding option by default is breached, okay? Yes, you can have sort of a forwarded to a central, the virtual controller, but we do not recommend that simply because the AP acting as a virtual controller doesn't have the processing capability to handle all traffic from all APs, from all users, okay? And so with Central, you can manage it by itself locally, meaning you get access to the virtual controller and you access it and you do configuration, management, that can be done locally. That is one option. And that is the least cost option because there's no controller, there's no management fees, management platform fees, no subscription whatsoever, okay? But this is where I want to bring in Central. If you have Central managing Instant, then suddenly you have a slightly different capability. And what I mean by that is Central will now allow you to manage your property, not only this property, but also multiple properties. And this is what Robinson's Land Group in Philippines is doing. They run two chains, select service chains, 2 3-star hotel. So the 3-star Summit and I think the 2-stars Go, two brands. And today they are they're all running on HPE and Aruba, but Summit is running on IAP with Central. And what it allows them to do is to have visibility of multiple properties. So they have about, I think, 13 Summit properties in different parts of Philippines. And they have one dashboard, they can see all properties. Okay, so that's the benefit. Instead of going into individual properties to manage it, now they have one single dashboard that they can do multi-property management. So you can get data from different properties from one single point. So the architecture in this case is pretty similar. You will see the admin network on the left, no change. You will see the guest network here. And this is where you have Central instead of the controller, right? Everything else pretty much the same. And these APs are instant APs. So the cost of controllers gone. AP license is gone. But yes, there is a Central subscription, but the Central subscription, okay, allows you not only to manage this property, but also to manage multiple properties, okay? And it also allows you to manage not just the APs, but the switches as well. That's the advantage of Central, okay? Now, obviously, this architecture in this case is a bit suited better to non-converged networks, meaning where you don't have to have security or you don't, you're not concerned about security because you are managing all these yourself. Both the untrusted and the trusted segment, the guest segment is also under your control. You can leverage in this because if you maintain control, you manage access, you deal with the devices, the switches and all that stuff, then it's fine. You take care of the security for the entire system as a whole, okay? That is where you can leverage this architecture and save some cost and yet get multi-property visibility and management, okay? Now, IAP currently has a certain limit, okay, in terms of the cluster. It is 128 guideline, okay? You can go higher than that, but at some point, it's going to max out. So the other thing that I want to share with you is we do support what we call standalone mode, okay? Aruba Central will provide all features like wireless controller, including client isolation. Well, the answer is Aruba Central is the operations platform for your network. Yes, things like client isolation is actually part of the AP and part of the config on the AP, which you do it from Central. So Central pushes all the config to the AP. And the AP enforces the client isolation and other security measures, okay? You could do VPN tunnels too. So from the IAP, you could do VPN tunnels. Obviously, you will need to introduce a SD branch gateway to terminate the tunnel. And I'll show you in the next slide how we do that. But yes, you could do VPN as well, okay? Right, the last option I have is for Instant with on-prem management. So earlier we have Instant with cloud management, but now we talk about Instant with on-prem. And again, this is based on IAP, so the traffic forwarding is bridged by default. And okay, So and the management over there just now is an on-prem management. So for those hotels that whatever reason don't want to use cloud, that would be the option in terms of managing the system. Okay. Now here is a overall architecture diagram that I want to share. Okay, that uses IAP with Central with SD branch, Aruba SD branch gateway. So I bring in Aruba SD branch gateway here is because we have certain things in there that you can leverage on for certain types of properties. Okay, so things like the SD branch gateway, we support firewall. It is a firewall. It does NAT, it does DHCP, policy-based routing, and the ability to handle multiple uplinks and do SLA monitoring for the uplinks and VPN services. Okay, so in some hotels you have the guest network having dedicated ISP, and then the admin network having dedicated ISP, right? Now with Aruba, you can have the SD branch gateway consolidate all your uplinks and provide them to both the guest and the admin networks. So now you have the ability to use both the ISP for redundancy to each other and share it between the guest and the admin. So you can create policies for admin traffic, for guest traffic, and allowing the uplink, allowing SD branch to manage the uplink for you, ensuring that any ISP fail, you have that redundancy. You are not tied down to to the ISP, and you don't have to worry that you need to get redundant links for both admin and guests, making it 4 ISPs connections. Okay. Got a chat question there, and the question is, with Aruba Central and in-room APs, do we have an option to create different wired VLANs for each room for guest connectivity? Yes, you could, but it's going to be a bit tedious. Okay, yeah, it's a bit of a problem when it comes to cluster. So I want to talk about this a little bit. Hang on, there's somebody's unmuted. Okay, so over here, this diagram shows cluster, multiple clusters. So in the case of multiple clusters, if you are talking about a hotel that is large, beyond 128, then obviously you hit into the cluster limit. And the way to deal with it, there are 2 ways. Okay, sorry. One is to use multiple clusters, and that is to set up different management VLAN. So you have management VLAN for public spaces, and then you have a bunch of IAPs, and one of them will be a virtual controller. You see the one with the orange circle, orange borders there? That becomes a virtual controller. Okay, you can carve out another management VLAN for guest rooms, again with another bunch of APs, IAPs, and one of them will be a virtual controller. You could also carve out a separate management VLAN for conference areas with another bunch of APs. Okay. So a few things to note on this. Here you have 3 management VLANs, so 3 clusters, all managed through Central. Okay, that is fine. If you have any admin SSIDs like backup house that needs security, the IAP can establish VPN connection to SD branch gateway, which can then forward the traffic to your backup house firewall, the admin firewall. Okay, so that is one way to manage security for instant deployment. Okay. Now, there's also another method, and that is to run all the APs as standalone. Okay, and today we are actually doing this with Marriott. So Marriott Select Service in the US, 65 hotels. They are running standalone IAPs, okay, no clustering, with Aruba Central. Okay, and this allows them to manage all the 65 Select Service properties from one dashboard. And in standalone mode, there is no no virtual controller, and all the APs kind of work independently, so to speak, literally independently. Okay, and you don't have a cluster limit. Okay, so let me check on the questions. Okay, what happens if any one cluster master AP fails? So with the cluster, the good thing is that any failure of a virtual controller, the rest of the APs will re-elect another virtual controller. And they keep doing that. If that one fails, they will re-elect another one. So if your cluster has 128 APs, you virtually have 127 redundant. All right. And what is the time taken? So good question. So when a VC fails, all right, the rest of the IAPs continue operating. All right, the election process does not interrupt the service. So in this particular mode, it actually works more like ruckus. The IAPs broadcasting the SSID, clients connected to it. The encryption is done between the client and the AP. The AP decrypts and then takes the VLAN and sends it out. So the election process for the VC, the virtual controller, does not interfere or interrupt the processing of guest traffic. Okay, so it works more like ruckus in this case because it's distributed. Okay, all right. So the time taken to re-elect is approximately, in my experience when I tested it, it's about 3 minutes to re-elect. All right, meaning that if you specify the virtual controller IP address, it's like a VRRP IP, you can ping that and it will time out about 2 to 3 minutes before it responds again, which means that a new VC is re-elected. Okay, but during the election, right, the rest of the APs continue functioning. Obviously, the VC that went down does not have wireless service. So if it is covering certain area, then you got to make sure you have redundancy in terms of signal overlaps. Okay. Can all the clusters have the same management VLAN? Or so the answer is no. Clusters cannot be on the same management VLAN simply because when it's on the same management VLAN, they all try to form a single cluster. And that's where you potentially will hit the limit because the processing capabilities on the virtual controller, which is an AP, is not enough to be able to pull data from all the APs in the cluster. Okay, so so the guideline that we typically have is one cluster. You look at about 170, max 200 or so. Intertouch has done 170 in Hong Kong with what is that? Oh, damn it. I forgot the name of that hotel. They have one case where they're using IAP for that. Okay. All right. What about client match and ARM if APs are running in standalone mode? So in standalone mode, client match still works, but it's on a per AP basis, meaning that the AP will basically deal with the clients that it's on its SSID, moving between what do you call it? Moving between 5G and 2.4G, and the cluster virtual controller will be the one that manages between APs. Okay. And same thing for ARM. The cluster VC is the one that manages between APs because the cluster has visibility of all the APs. Okay. Yeah, WGOA. Yeah, I know about that. WGOA. We requested for exception from Dick Wagner, and it was approved. Okay. So this diagram here gives you a picture of what is possible with an Aruba install, all Aruba installs, so Aruba switches, Aruba APs, with SD branch gateway acting as the firewall and router, effectively, connecting your to your internet service provider links, and all managed by Aruba Central.
9, 10.
Oh, yes, there's a little girl. It's just okay, muted. Thank you. All right. Okay. So even with this setup, you will still be able to take advantage of the IAPs, role-based access controls, and ACLs, features like client isolation. Now, however, client. Oops. Okay, let me mute. So client isolation, the only thing to bear in mind is that I would recommend that you use 8.5, instant 8.5 and above, because with instant 8.5 and above, we introduce a new client isolation feature. The previous client isolation feature will work within the cluster, but not across cluster. So that is the problem that we have before. Okay, but now with the new AOS 8.5, we have introduced a new client isolation which will work across cluster and also in standalone mode. All right, it's called deny intra VLAN traffic. All right. Okay, let's move on. And over here is just a picture of what a guest room design could potentially look like. So you obviously have a switch somewhere, could be within the room, outside the room, in the riser, and you have TVs connected, your set-top box maybe in place of the TVs, RCUs, provision for guest laptops, provision for printers, wired connections, provision for APs, and with the APs, wireless connectivity to things like Chromecast, bedside panels, IP phones, all right? And this is where things like track and protect can come in. So we have BLE on the APs that will allow us to interface with staff safety solution. We also have Zigbee that we can support to interface with the door locks. So you either have Zigbee to the hallway APs, or you have Zigbee into the in-room APs, and the ability to support all three protocols, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and Bluetooth, will allow you to have the ability to support all these IoT devices that you will start, plugging into the rooms to support, whatever user experience initiatives and operational initiatives that you have. Okay. All right. Okay, I am at what time? 1:42, 10. So, okay, another 15 minutes and I will pause for a break. So I will run through some of these sections quickly. In the access points, we have a few different operating system. So this, just in case you don't know, Ingson is one of them. Campus is the other. So campus simply means if you buy specific SKUs that are called campus AP SKUs, they will require a controller. It cannot work without a controller. Now, the instant SKUs will work without controllers, but they can be converted to campus and work with a controller. All right, but that was the past. That's legacy. Going forward, all the new AP models that we have, they are unified. Unified means that there's dual personality. It's going to look for a controller. If it cannot find a controller, it'll work as an instant. Basically that. Okay. And then on the controllers side, we have two flavors, the AOS 6 and AOS 8. So I don't know how many of you are using controllers today and whether they are on 6 or 8, but my recommendation is move to 8. Start moving to 8. Okay, look at moving to 8. Marriott is actually doing a trial with us on Passpoint. So they are also planning to roll it out to APJ, and I received word from Dinesh in Singapore that they want to do some trials in APJ. Now that started before the COVID-19 hit really bad. So I think things have kind of paused for a while. But the point is that they're gonna start doing this trial eventually, and to do that, any Aruba install will need to have AOS 8. Okay, so at some point you'll be asked to migrate. If you're managing a Marriott property and your hotel is earmarked to participate in this Passpoint trial, you may have to do the migration. Okay, and then on the switching side, we have two flavors as well. Aruba OSS. This is currently the traditional ProCurve switching, if you like. The 25 series, the 29 series, the 38 series, the 54 series. Okay, and you also probably heard from Aruba that we released 84, 63, 64. Okay, these are the Aruba OS CX, a brand new generation of switching platform or OS. Okay. So this is just a picture of the controller portfolio. What I want to call out is obviously most of you who are doing controller-based deployment will should be using the 72 series, but the 7000 series, these are the ones that are being repurposed, meaning the hardware can work one or the other. Okay, can work as a wireless LAN controller for small capacity APs, or we repurpose it to run it as a SD branch gateway. Okay, it's the same hardware. It's just applying different licenses. So if you are keen about SD branch, we can have a separate conversation to get into more details about that. But the SD branch gateways are actually the 70,000 controllers, and we just recently introduced the 9,000, and we will be rolling out more flavors of the 9,000 as SD branch gateway as well as wireless LAN controller for small capacity. Okay. There are other flavors which is virtual, meaning they are VMs, but I would not recommend them for hospitality deployment, okay, due to the scale, okay? All right, so what's with AOS 8? What is new in the operating system? What can we get out of it? There are a number of stuff that are new in AOS 8 which are really good. However, in most cases for hospitality, we are not going to really use it that much, I'd say. And obviously you have to balance the cost as well. So with AOS 8, we introduce a concept called Mobility Master. Okay, and this Mobility Master can be a hardware appliance that you buy, or you can get the software with the licenses and run it on a VM. Okay, whichever way, this Mobility Master acts as the brains of the network, and it will control a bunch of controllers, whether virtual or appliance, a bunch of controllers. So these controllers will form a cluster and be managed by the Mobility Master. And what you do is you manage the Mobility Master, meaning that your interface is with the Mobility Master. Okay. Now, there are a couple of things I want to highlight. Number one, centralized licensing. Okay. So centralized licensing is a key thing in AOS 8. And it is something that I want you to take advantage of, because it means that if you deploy redundant controllers, you only need one set of AP licenses. Okay, so if you have 200 APs, or sorry, 300 APs, you get 300 AP licenses and 2 controllers. That's it. The controllers will share the licenses depending on the failure of one or the other. Okay, all right. There are a couple of other capabilities or advantages listed in here: multi-OS, stateful failover, live and in-service upgrade, okay, user and AP load balancing, as well as air match. So these 4 or 5 other features or benefits is something that you get if you deploy Mobility Master. However, deploy Mobility Master is additional cost. So most hotels will not do that, and I will not recommend it either, unless you specifically need live and in-service upgrade. So for large properties, like the 1,000 APs and above, then I would recommend you think about having Mobility Master, because it gives you the ability to do live upgrade, which means going forward, if you are going to do any upgrade, you don't have to worry and have to schedule downtime with the guests. That is the benefit. Okay. There's a question that another question: if there's a single hardware controller in a network and controller fails, what will happen? No Wi-Fi. Simple as that. Will the user remain connected and continue? No, no Wi-Fi. You will have no Wi-Fi. If you have a single controller and it's down, you will have no Wi-Fi. New users cannot join. Old users will not see the Wi-Fi, will not see SSID. It's just going to be all down. All right. So redundancy is something that I would recommend. All right. Okay. So without Mobility Master, you lose multi-OS, you lose stateful failover, you do not enjoy live and in-service upgrade, you do not enjoy air match, this kind of features. Okay, but you can get centralized licensing and you can get multi-zone. Okay, so these are the 2 other features, and I want to get into that. Okay, another question pop up. Can we have fallback to cloud? No. At this point in time, no. All right. If you have a controller-based deployment, you need to have redundant controllers. Okay. because of the way the APs talk to the controller. If we want to fail over, we need to have both of them the same platform, if you like. Okay. Okay. So there is a feature called multi-zone in Aruba that I thought I want to share with you because it may come in useful. I don't know yet, but there's been some interest from some hotels about multi-zone. Okay, what is multi-zone? Now, today you may be managing the network for a hotel, right? So you have your network set up, you provide the switches, you provide the APs, or you buy it on behalf of the hotel and you install it and you manage it, and you have controllers. Okay, this is your primary zone. Now, you also have the ability, if the hotel says, hey, I want a secure SSID, but I don't want to put up my own APs. Can I have your AP broadcast the SSID? Okay, but I don't want the traffic to terminate at your controller because I have no control, I have no access to your controller. I don't want that to happen, because if it terminates at your controller and it comes out to my network, you have some visibility into that traffic. Okay, that's one argument people could use. And depending on the way that the access is provided to the hotel, okay, and or the security is provided to the hotel. Now, there is a alternative to this, and if the hotel is very security conscious, they could purchase their own controllers with the appropriate licenses, AP licenses, and PF licenses, and you can assign your AP to their controller. Okay, so what's interesting here is that the SSID that is broadcasted out can be defined by you, I mean the hotel. Okay, they own the controllers, they define their SSID, and the traffic gets tunneled to their controller from the AP. So this becomes what we call the data zone, and it has config control for a separate SSID and visibility for that SSID. Okay, and this will provide really almost close to considered physical security, if you like. Okay. Oops. All right. Right. So for hotels that require that level of security, the assurance in terms of separation of traffic, multi-zone is a possibility. Now, I raise this up because some hotels may be managed by a telco, a service provider. So if the service provider goes around building networks for the hotel cannot trust the service provider. And so using this method, it will allow the hotel to have connection into the service provider network, okay, which obviously is the controller, but have the traffic tunnel in their own controller. So it bypasses everything through a encrypted tunnel on the service provider network. So the service provider network will never see the traffic from the AP and from the clients that are connected to that specific SSID. Okay. So just to let you know that this kind of capabilities exist in Aruba. All right. And as I mentioned, when you move to AOS 8, there are two sort of options. One is with Mobility Master and one is without Mobility Master. Without Mobility Master, we call it standalone master controller mode. This would be the main deployment model. Now, obviously, it will not be 3 controllers. It will probably be just 2 maximum for redundancy. Okay. Now, for large networks, that is where I would recommend you think about having Mobility Master in order to manage it better and enjoy some additional benefits from Mobility Master, like live upgrades, in-service upgrades. Okay. So in the case of not using Mobility Master, the benefits are centralized licensing, okay, and multi-zone. Okay, so these are the key, key benefits from there. And then with Mobility Master, you get, live upgrades, centralized services, air match, which is automated RF management for high density areas. Okay. So with AOS 8, one of the things that you can do even without Mobility Master is to have redundancy and AP fast failover. So when we have AP fast failover, we deploy redundant controllers. Each AP will have 2 tunnels, one active tunnel and one standby tunnel. And this will allow the AP to fail over very quickly when one controller goes down. So I've done a couple of deployments with folks from Gastech in a few countries, and we have been very successful getting this working very well with just, at most is 2 packet loss if you do a ping. So from a user connection to the AP, the loss is just very temporary, just 2 ping loss, that's it. So it moves or switch over very quickly from the active tunnel to the standby tunnel without any loss of reboots of the APs or stuff like that. Okay. With Mobility Master, the switchover will even be more seamless because the Mobility Master coordinates the tunnels of the APs. Okay, and the switchover is practically seamless. Okay. 2 chats that came up. If there are 2 controllers or customer wants a redundancy with AOS 8, but they don't want to invest on then without how can we do redundancy? So this is the picture on the right here is how you do redundancy without okay? Voice is low. Can you all hear me? Testing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I think it's loud enough. Okay, good. All right, so maybe you have to turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, and I actually have a document. Okay, and sorry, this is a picture of how the redundancy happens. Both the controllers use VRRP and establish an active tunnel. Every AP establishes the active and a standby tunnel. Okay, so there's some descriptions of this. I don't want to go into details, but here is a document called Master Standby Configuration Details. Download this document because it explains step by step how you would configure the redundancy without Mobility Master. Okay. Okay, what is the protocol you recommend between controllers for redundancy? So we don't recommend, it is required, it is the way we work. So the configuration steps is all listed in this PPT. It uses VRRP, all right? So take a look, download this document and go through it if you're preparing to do this install or configure it that way. All right. Okay, let's take a breather here. I am at the 1.5 hour mark already. So let's take a 5-minute break, shall we? So we can go to the toilet, we can get some coffee, get some water, or have a cigarette. Shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Yes, I will share with the group all these documents, and these sessions are recorded as well. So I will get it downloaded and upload it for you guys to access. So we do a 5-minute break from here. All right. Okay. So the time now is about 1:59. Make it 2 o'clock. So let's get back here at 2:05. Let's be back. 2:05. Okay, 2:05 is my time, and your time is what?
Yeah, here is
12?
11 to 9. 11 to 9.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I'm gonna go to the restroom myself.
Sure.
Or share the URL in a group chat where you can download. Okay. Yo, Ashish. So far, so good. Everybody?
Yeah. Surya, you want to say anything? Mahesh?
Mahesh is on.
Yeah, Mahesh is also there.
Good.
A couple of India SC team is also here.
Oh,
in this
yeah,
call.
so Mahesh now.
Yeah, Mahesh is there. Mahesh is on mute.
Yep. Okay, I think we can get back together. All right. Let's get
Sure.
moving.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into the wireless part of things. So this part is basically just some introduction on the product side. What we have currently on the range of products, and key highlight here is the Wi-Fi 6 products. So you have the 500 series. We've been rolling that out over the past, I think almost 6 months or so already. Actually more than that, almost a year. The 515 came out 2018, end of 2018. So almost a year now. So the 500 series, the 51 series, the 53 series, and the 55 series. Okay. Um, we are going to be announcing the launch very soon of the 505H, the new AX wall plate, wall plate AP, as well as the outdoors, the 5.7 series. Okay, so that's coming. All right. So as far as the Wi-Fi APs are concerned, those okay, hang on. Let me go back here. These 500 series, they come with BLE and Zigbee. So there's a radio chipset that supports both BLE and Zigbee, and we support both protocol, and we've also managed to make them work together, meaning that they will time slice between Zigbee and BLE. Okay. For those APs, let's say you have a hotel that wants Zigbee support, but are using old APs, the 300 series or 200 series, then you would need to get a dongle, a Zigbee dongle that you plug into the USB port on the AP. Okay. So this is a new product as well, and you will see from a recommendation point of view, for rooms, what do we have today? Today is the 303H. Very soon it'll be the 505H added in here, and you have the hallway, which I would put as a low density area, considered low density. So you could just use the 500 series. If you're using old, like older models, 300 series, then if you want Zigbee support, you need to get the Zigbee dongle. Obviously, the APs must have the USB port as well. Okay, and then for public areas, you'll be looking at the 510 and 530. So public areas are generally considered medium density in that sense. So you don't need very high NAPs for that, unless your public area is of a certain type, like in Peninsula or Jumeirah. The public areas are very high density because there are events that are being held in the public areas. Okay. And then for the ballrooms, these are considered high density areas. That's where you want to look at the 5.3 and the 5.5 series. Obviously, if your hotel public areas, ballrooms are small ballrooms and not that high density, you could even work with the 5.1 series. Okay. And question: can you give the approximate concurrent users who can connect? So with AX, the concurrent user is going to be a lot larger. Like I think it was the 256 or something like that. So tomorrow, when you learn about AX, you'll understand why. Okay. Concurrency with AX is going to be a lot better than with prior generation of standard. Okay. Okay, over the next few slides, I'm not going to go through, but just basically listing down the portfolio naming convention, what they mean, all the different numbers. Okay, so use that as your reference, all right? And this section on unified AP, so this is where I was earlier mentioning that we want to unify the campus AP and the IAP models and provide a single SKU to reduce confusion. So from a partner perspective, it's going to be easier for you. All right, all the new models that you get, look for UAP. If it's UAP, you don't care if you're going to use it with controller or with central or with airwave or just instant as it is. So you just buy it, that's it. You can use it with any one of these management platforms. Okay, so it simplifies the ordering. Okay, does do 11AX have backward compatibility? Yes, it does. All right, all of them will have backward compatibility. The way that IEEE does it. Okay. All right, so this particular slide here goes through the default boot up procedure for UAP. Factory boot up procedure for UAP. And this is going to give you an idea how UAP functions. So just bear in mind that with Aruba, unfortunately, the booting up sequence take a bit longer time compared to Ruckus. So you have to be patient and understand what is it actually is going through. So the first thing that it looks for is actually controller. So if it can find a controller, it's going to connect to the controller and do whatever the controller tells it to do. All right. If it does not find a controller, then it goes into instant virtual controller discovery. So it's going to look whether it belongs, there is an existing cluster that it can join, and who is the virtual controller in that cluster. And if it does, it'll join as a cluster, and whatever the virtual controller configuration is pushed down to that AP. Okay. Next, if instant is not available, then it's going to look for Airwave. And if Airwave is not available, it's going to go to the internet and try to see if Central has anything to say. So Aruba Central is a cloud management platform, and it'll see if, hey, do I belong to a configuration or a setup that includes me in Central? And if it does, then it'll get the config from Central. Okay. So otherwise, it will basically broadcast a provisioning SSID called "set me up" with the last few characters of the MAC address, and then you can manually connect to it and provision it locally, manually, individually. All right. So that is kind of the boot up sequence. And if you're using IAP for site survey, this slide will give you all the configuration or steps that you need. Okay, I'm getting a message that my internet connection is unstable. Are you guys still hearing me okay? Any choppiness? Testing 1, 2, 3. Please
Yeah, everything's fine.
check Zoom chat selection set to everyone because I'm getting chat messages privately instead of everyone. Oh, really? I think you have to select when you're, oh, yeah, whoever is going to chat, you have to select everyone. All right. Okay, good. So take a look at this when you do, site survey, because you need the AP to be able to continue broadcasting the SSID and allow, something to connect, the client to connect, potentially to test the uplink and all that stuff. So you would need to do a few things, right? Convert it to standalone, and then it will reboot, and then you have to set the enforce uplink. So these are a few things, and also set the transmit power and the channel according to your site survey requirement. I know that for most people, one of the things that you want to do is to compare with Ruckus, okay? So yes, I hear that, and you can set the TX power to maximum. However, I'm going to tell you that there's no way that we're going to match Ruckus in terms of coverage. And I don't, really don't care, because coverage is not the only thing. In fact, coverage alone is not sufficient. Okay, and this is where things are going to get interesting when we talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so this is a procedure for getting an IAP to do site survey. Okay. Another interesting thing to know is that we have covers for APs. So if you need to paint the AP to be a certain color, you need the AP to be of a certain color to match, the aesthetics and all that stuff. You can order these covers separately. Okay. Yes, Rajesh, brand standard require coverage. Correct. And unfortunately, brand standard today, the way they're written is not, it's still very one-dimensional. It is insufficient. But for most of the brands, because they don't want complicated stuff to put in their brand standards, they choose coverage as the criteria. But and we're trying ways to advise them, but it is not easy to get them to change, unfortunately. But you have to bear in mind that it is, you want to do it, yes, do what you need to do, but ultimately just understand that it is not going to be sufficient, and there are a lot of other things that you need to worry about, and tomorrow we'll cover that. Okay. So with the covers, back to the covers, we will be able to, allow you to it's a plastic enclosure, by the way, not even enclosure, just a snap-on that you can paint a different color. So on the left here, that is the cover. It has got some holes for the LEDs to kind of shine through, and then you kind of, snap it over the AP. Okay, it's not two APs here. It's one AP on the right, and the left is actually a cover. And we have covers for everything, including the 303H, the in-room AP. Okay. And another information that you will find useful is this link here. If you have access to Arubapedia as a partner, you might be able to get access to this access point mounts page. If not, you can use this OneDrive link. I have PDF it so you can download it as a PDF. At least give you some idea, because the different mount skills, okay, and what they actually look like. Okay, so hopefully this will help you when you do your bomb, build your bomb. Okay. Another item here is simply the 387. This is for point-to-point gigabit backhaul. 11AD and 11AC capable. So if you're doing, say, resorts and all that stuff, and you need to extend your connection out to the beaches and all that stuff, and you don't want to run fiber, one way is to use this point-to-point backhaul. Okay. Okay, the best place for all of this information is this thing called Iris. Okay, now I don't know if you know Iris. Later we'll talk about it when we talk about building a bomb. But this is a design tool that can help you generate a bill of materials. It allows you to design, it allows you to validate and generate bill of materials. Okay, what is the max? Okay, hang on. Can IEPs all wire connected form a cluster? So the question to that, Dipanka Paul, is that any IEPs in the same layer 2 broadcast domain will form a cluster. And that is why, when we use IEP design, you got to be careful, because if your layer 2 broadcast domain is very large and there's too many APs, you will hit a cluster limit of 128. Well, actually not 128, but you'll hit a cluster limit at some point. Okay, meaning some APs will not be able to join the cluster. What is the maximum backhaul range using the 387? So the 387 backhaul range maximum, it's not that hugely long. I think it's just about like 500-600 meters, because AD is the 60 gig frequency. It is short range. Okay, 60 gig not approved. Oh, okay, so 60 gig not approved, then forget it. 60 gig not approved in India. Okay, so you gotta wait till your Infocom authorities approve 60 gig to use that. Damn. Okay. Sorry, my neighbor's dogs are pretty noisy. Okay, let's get into the switches. So quickly, the range of switches here, you should be familiar with this right now, the 35 series, okay, 2530, sorry, and 2540, and then 29 series, 38 and 54. So the 54 and the 29 and 25 are the mainstay in hospitality. Most people will use the 54 as a core. Some use 38 as a core, which is fine. Some even use 2930 as a core. Okay, Red Planet does that. They use 2930F together with 2530 for the H. 2930F as a core. So it depends on your hotel size and the number of rooms you have. Choose accordingly. Okay, these are the Aruba OSS series. Okay. Now, the only thing I want to comment is that if you want to build a converged network with ClearPass for your NAC, then and you want dynamic segmentation, then you will need to use 2930 minimum. Do not use the 25 series. Okay. So if you're talking about using dynamic segmentation with colorless ports with ClearPass, the 2930 and onwards, those are the switches that you will need to put in place. Okay. And going forward, we have the 63 series, 64 series, as well as coming out pretty soon, 61,000, 62,000. Okay, so these are the new platform, the Aruba OSCX. And the difference with that is that, let me move here. With the AOSCX, there are some key features, okay? And some of the key features are with things that we already know, like dynamic segmentation. But there is one which is interesting, which is live upgrades with VXX. So the AOSCX, except for the 63, the rest of it supports VSX, virtual switching extension. And what this allows you to do is to have the two core, obviously you have two cores for redundancy, to be upgraded without downtime. So what it does is that if pushes all the traffic, make sure that it goes through one box, upgrade the box that doesn't have the traffic. Once upgraded, it allows the traffic to move over before upgrading the second box. So using dual control plane and data plane to bring live upgrade uh, benefits to you. Okay. All right. So there's a lot more that we can go into CX. There's network analytics engine for troubleshooting, programmability as well. But in hospitality, it's probably less likely that you will find them, a whole lot compelling for the price that you're paying for. Okay, so most of us will still be on the basic stuff, and the 54 is good enough for all that stuff. Okay. All right, any questions on the architecture side? There had been a lot of questions on the chat window. Do Aruba switches can be managed and monitored from Aruba controller, and does the entire system support API? So the answer is Aruba controllers do not manage switches. And this is where Aruba Central comes in. So Aruba Central can manage switches and manage IAPs. Okay, and we are working on the next generation of controller operating system called AOS 10. So we're now at AOS 8. We're moving to 10 pretty soon. And what 10 allows you to do is to allow the controllers to be managed by Central. Okay, so the APs will be also managed by Central, with the switches also managed by Central, and the controllers managed by Central. And the controller basic function, all the intelligence is going to move, all the management function, intelligence, AI stuff is going to all move to Central. And the controller on-prem is just going to be terminating tunnels from the APs. Okay, that is already happening. Okay. All right, if not, let's move into competitive. Okay. So competitive, I have 1 hour to go. Yep, let's see competitive. Okay, over here, basically, I'm going to compare with, primarily Cisco and Ruckus. So first of all is the switch portfolio mapping. Now, this is just a guidance. Now, the actual, the actual model that you're used to map obviously may not be exactly the same because of the different, port types and port density that you want. So my advice to you is, okay, please try not to give us or give me a Ruckus bomb with ICX switches or Cisco switches and Ruckus APs and ask for a conversion and a quotation. I find it's not effective. It's not optimized because we don't know exactly what the requirements is. How many fiber ports, how many copper ports, do you need smart rate, PoE? It's just hard to tell. So I cannot give you a true apple-to-apple comparison. Okay, what I want to see is what is your network like? How are you running fiber from core to edge, or fiber to distribution and then copper to edge? Questions like this. And what are you putting on your edge switches? What are the devices? Do they need PoE? What are the PoE requirements? These are the kind of questions that I rather that we design an Aruba network, even switching, for that purpose. Okay, rather than doing a bomb-to-bomb conversion. All right. So I appreciate that. If you allow us to do that with you rather than just converting. Okay. For the wireless side, I have a mapping table. So this mapping table is an Excel file, which I have it on the link here. Okay. And this maps all the different Ruckus APs to Aruba APs. Okay. Now, I just want to highlight that the one of the items here, the number 10, R310, and the R320, I have put here as IAP 207, but this is no longer recommended, and I rather that you use the 303. So we're moving, away from the 2 series, simply because the 5 series is, coming into the picture. Okay. All right. Sorry about the barking. I hope it's not too distracting. So download this spreadsheet. For wireless, you can do the mapping using this document. That's fine as well. But again, I would rather hear from you guys, where you actually need to cover. What kind of density are we talking about? Approximately, what kind of applications, users, all right? Because even some of these mapping, I can tell you, it's not necessary. Sometimes, Ruckus is proposing something which is kind of overkill, all right? Why do you need a 750, for example, a 4x4 when you could do it with a 2x2 model, when their density is not that high, that sort of thing. Okay, right? So you can leverage that. Okay. There are some comparison with Ruckus that I want to call out in this slide. Not all of it. I don't want to go through everything, but a few interesting things. Now, if you talk about IoT integration, okay, with Aruba today, what we do is with the APs having the Bluetooth and Zigbee radio and the dongle as well. But besides that, there's nothing else. Okay, but with Ruckus, you actually need to get a separate IoT controller. So it's a VM that you run a software, and you need to get licenses for that. So that is one key difference that you want to bear in mind. When we spoke with Asset Abloy about this, they expressed some reservations with this Ruckus model as well. Hang on, somebody's unmuted, I think. Yeah. So they express some reservations with the Ruckus model, that they have to get a separate controller with licenses. So there is additional costs. Okay, so with Aruba there isn't. Right? There's no separate licensing for IoT. Okay. Yes. Oops. Navdeep, I think you need to mute. I would try to mute it for you, but it seems that you're getting unmute every now and then. Okay. All right. And then another item is with WPA3 here. Now, this comparison was done by our TME team, the technical marketing. That was done sometime last year. So some items are kind of outdated. So WPA3 support. With Ruckus, I think they just recently enabled that with the new firmware. Okay. Okay, next. Support for AX. Today, you'll find that Ruckus has only one model certified by Wi-Fi Alliance for 11AX. The earlier models, because they use a very early chipset, cannot be certified. So they would have to introduce new hardware. With Aruba, we have now a total of 8 models that are certified on Wi-Fi Alliance. And tomorrow I can share that with you. It's on the Wi-Fi Alliance site. Another interesting thing is dual 5 gig mode. So with Aruba today, with the AP555, we actually support dual 5 gig mode. And this is interesting for high density. So in your high density, large ballrooms, for example, and even for convention, those mines kind of environment, exhibition centers and all that stuff, 5 gig will come in useful because you can, you're not going to do much with 2.4. So, instead of using one 2.4 and one 5 for every AP, you just have selected APs running 2.4 and the rest running dual 5 gig. And that will give you the ability to handle a lot more capacity by splitting up the 5 gig spectrum. Okay. Right. Another table that I created for the InterTouch guys is this Aruba Central versus Ruckus Smart Zone. This is a system level comparison. Okay. And I just want to call out a few things, right? With Aruba Central, the number of APs and switch support is practically unlimited because Central is cloud. And cloud, again, because it's cloud, Aruba Central supports multi-tenancy. So it's easily lend itself to supporting the MSP model. Now, we've been working with IHG. Now, IHG standardized on Cisco Meraki, right? And Meraki is a cloud platform. And through interaction with IHG and the partners that support IHG, we are finding that they are telling us Okay, and this coming from the partners, like Rivernet, like Hospitality Wi-Fi. They prefer Aruba's implementation of the MSP model than Meraki's implementation of the MSP model. Okay, and there's some I don't exactly understand why is that the case, but when they used both, they find that we're better, and so we're in conversations with ISG at global level, and they are seriously looking at us as the alternative vendor to Meraki. In fact, they open up their Russia tender to us, asking us to participate, exactly just so that they can uncover and look for a potential alternative. Okay, so this is happening as we speak. Okay. Then what else? Okay, so basically with Aruba, whether you go with controller base or IAP, you're going to get stateful firewall capabilities within the system, both at the AP level or at the controller level, in order to enforce security. Okay. Right. So these are some of the things I want to call out in when you're on board with us as an Aruba partner, and trying to build a solution out for the hotels. Having all these options available to you, it's gonna allow you to have, I guess, more choices and the ability to better engage your hotels. Okay. With Aruba, you get much better application recognition and control, okay, on a per client basis. All right, Ruckus is difficult because, again, it is all the intelligence, all the enforcement rather, is not on the controller because they are not sending the traffic through the controller, right? So everything, capabilities like application control has to be done on the AP. But because the AP has limited processing and memory capability or disk space, you cannot expect it to be able to do a whole suite of applications. And this is where the application control is limited. Okay? With Aruba, you also get additional solutions with regards to assurance. So if you have Aruba Central, for example, we have network analytics component called Clarity. Okay. You also get this if you run Airwave. And what this does is it measures the guest experience with key network matrix. So it gives a network perspective of what your guests are experiencing. With regards to 4 key areas: wireless association, DHCP, authentication if it's a .1x, and DNS. And these 4 matrix rather will allow you to narrow down where your problem is, because they all translate to poor user experience, right? And if you do not have this matrix, then you're going to be blind. You're going to go down and you have to test everything on your own in order to narrow down the fault. But with central clarity, or even with UXI sensor, you get them up front. You get them, in a single screen that tells you, hey, DHCP latency is a problem, failure is a problem, authentication failure is a problem, and it'll tell you which AP and which clients are affected. So that helps you narrow down problems much faster. And Aruba Central has got AI-powered insights to provide details about RF anomalies and conditions. So you don't have to have a wireless expert, like me, to have to sit down and tell you what's wrong with the network. Suddenly, you get all this information from Aruba Central that tells you, hey, there's too much co-channel interference, or there's too much users spending too much time on 2.4, not on 5 gig. Information like this, or authentication failures, DHCP failures, information like this that bubbles up and tells you, what you need to go investigate. Okay, this is something that Ruckus doesn't have. Okay, all right. So just want to call out a few items in here. You can take a look at the rest of it on your own when you get hold of the deck. Okay. So multi-property visibility and management, reporting, and APIs. These are some of the capabilities that you get with Aruba Central. Okay. and question, do you have APIs that can pull this data to our dashboard? Yes, there is. In fact, Intertouch was working on this API. We have in China, Link brought a, sort of like Intertouch. They already have been using Central with IHG China properties. We are approved in IHG only in China. And today, that is being done with LinkBroad because we integrate with their hospitality dashboard. And they can show all the users and the signal levels of the users all pulling out from Aruba Central, getting about the applications of this that this user is using, getting information like which AP he's connected to, um, stuff like that. And also roaming performance, where this user has been to, what is his roaming conditions like, which AV has he moved from to where, at what signal level, at what frequency. Okay. So that is something that is already being done by some of our partners. Okay. All right. So with Aruba, you get a bunch of advantages. From a security angle, a lot of capabilities in the Aruba gear. Even just from the IAP alone, you can do, because of the stateful firewall, you can do granular control of applications of users of that network. But along with clear paths, you get additional advantages with dynamic segmentation. And a lot of the features that exist in our enterprise scenarios that are useful in there, application control, client match, with AI-driven analytics, assurance. These are things that you get to enjoy from a hospitality perspective. And why? Because again, building that converged network will require you to build an enterprise network. Okay. And also from a portfolio point of view, right? Not just wireless and switching. Now we have things like SD branch for WAN management, security, assurance, even location. Okay. We also have the support of financing. Okay. Where HPE finances can work out, loan schemes or interest-free schemes, so to speak, or buyback schemes that allow the hotel or even our partners to manage their cash flow better, free up assets to be able to invest in other tech and align it with your technology cycle, right? Every year, the technology change, every 5 years rather, the technology changes. Okay. Okay, the rest of it are just marketing slides. I'm not going to go through it, but you can take a look at what the industry lead analysts are talking about us as a company. Okay. Okay, there's a quick check on chat window. Okay, do Aruba switches can be managed and monitored from Aruba controller? Okay, so that's what so for the Aruba controller itself, if you again move to AOS 8, yes, you will be able to, it supports APIs, REST APIs, so you will be able to use your dashboard to interface with our controller running AOS 8 and get data out of the controller. Okay, with Aruba Central, though, you will be able to do it through the cloud for both switches and APs. Okay. All right. So next we get into building the bomb. If no questions, now the time is 2:40, so I have just about 50 minutes. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. So this is a fairly short section, so I think we should be able to complete earlier than expected. Okay. So I want to introduce Iris. What is Iris? So Iris is not my girlfriend. It's not, my wife. It's not your girlfriend either or your mistress. But it is a design tool by a third party. This company called Intenji. I want to ask. Actually, I forgot that I should have set up a poll. I wanted to ask, how many of you use Iris? Do you guys use Iris? Can you share that in your chat window? In the chat window? Yes, I see somebody say yes. Yes, okay. So that's good. Yes, 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 yes. Wow, okay, fantastic. Wow, okay, that's good. So a lot of yeses, it seems. Good. So, which means that I probably don't have to go through that much on Iris, but it's really nice because it's a design and configuration tool, and it provides the ability for you to get budgetary quotes with list price. Okay, and it's available to all of our partners and obviously to our employees as well. Okay. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but Iris now also contain ruckus parts as well. Okay, so I have a separate training on Iris, and it's a hands-on training that I did for some groups before. So if you have interest, if you any of the partner organization that is not using Iris, I didn't see a no in here, so it seems like every one of you or most of you are yes. But if there are people who are not on Iris and you want a separate training on Iris, let me know or let Ashish know, and we'll organize something. Okay. It is really useful because it provides you multiple design views. Okay. So with Iris, you have the ability to actually put products into it's like Visio. So you put in products and you can connect products, and it actually does validation. And you can have design views like topology. This is the system network, and you can get power view, meaning what is the power budget on each of the devices. Here, the screen is a little small, but I'm not sure if you can see the colors and the blue boxes. And you can also get what do you call it, the power PoE budget view, where you get what is available from a PoE perspective. Okay, so if you are connecting too many APs, or if your switch PoE power is insufficient, okay, that it will give you a warning. It will flag out in red, and you will be able to know, oh, I've got either I have to change the switch or I have to put less APs. Okay. Detailed products and information. So you can get detailed information about products, including end of sale. Okay. Replacement products, and you can configure them. Okay. All the extensions, modules, and options. You have the list of compatible options, so you won't go wrong. Okay. Or it's difficult to go wrong. Let's put it this way: you can still go wrong, but at least this provides a way for you to validate a lot of things. Okay. And also things like mounting kits and accessories, you can also provision them in here and get it in your bill of materials. One of the interesting thing it does in Iris is what we call connection validation. And this allows you to connect APs to switches, switches to other switches, and it gives you a way to validate. Meaning that if you do not have the right transceivers, for example, then you cannot connect the fiber connection, for example. Say your transceiver is a 10 gig and you're trying to connect a switch with a 1 gig transceiver to a switch with a 10 gig, it won't allow you. It'll tell you there's no 1 gig transceiver available on the ending switch, terminating switch. So that is going to allow you to ensure you have the right pieces in place. If you buy a switch that are dual personality, you didn't get the transceiver, again, you cannot make the connection. All right, whether copper or fiber. So these are the kind of things that allow you to validate your design. And when you validate your design, then you can be sure your BOM is complete. There's no doubt about whether you had the parts wrong and so on. And finally, multiple price lists. So you can get price lists for different countries. You can download them. So for some of you, who are what we call regional, meaning that you are, say, the regional procurement for for Asia, then you will have the ability to say, okay, I'm doing a project in Cambodia, for example, or Vietnam. So I will choose a Vietnam price list and generate a BOM for that, okay, or Hong Kong, and stuff like that. Okay. And finally, you can export that bill of materials and get a quotation. Okay, sorry. and get a quotation out in an Excel spreadsheet, okay, with the discount column. So you can apply your discounts that our sales give to you, and get your budgetary price and quote out to your customer. Okay. All right. We can also create reusable designs in Iris. So this is interesting because you see these green items that are highlighted. You can actually duplicate them, copy them, okay, and change quantities. And that will allow you to reuse that design in another project. Okay. So Iris is really useful. Okay. End of sale announcements are given here as well. Okay. Yeah. And hold on a second. Sorry. All right. So for partners, you can get Iris. So you can check with Ashish if you're not sure, but here is some information that I got. And I think, for our partners, your domain, your company domain should be registered with Iris. And which means that you should be able to go to intenji.com to download it, sign up for an account with your official email and download. If not, write to this email address called irissuccess@hpe.com. Provide your partner ID and your company name, and sign some agreement. And then from there, you should be able to get hold of Iris. Okay. So if you have
that
any
required the
doubts,
approval.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So if
as
you have
you're
any
writing in
doubts,
yeah, it's required approval.
okay, good. So yeah, just follow this procedure and see where it gets you. If any trouble, please contact Ashish or myself. We'll help you to sort that out. Okay. Now, Iris will require, when you run it, it does check the internet connection every now and then, but you can still do it offline, meaning you can cancel that check and do an offline login and run it. So you can still do your job of designing and building the bomb even without the internet connection. Okay. For those who are using Mac OS, all right. I'm not a Mac person, but this is something that you need to do. You have to run it under this thing called Wine Bottler. So I don't know, it's some kind of a launcher or something. So you have to follow this procedure for that. Again, I am not familiar with Mac, so I'm not able to tell if this is really working or not. All right. Okay. Iris support third-party switches and access points like Cisco, Alcatel. Well, there are a few. There's Extreme, there's Ruckus, and there's Cisco. So yes. Yeah. Okay. So from a bomb perspective, this page is probably the most critical one. So I just want to kind of help you guys to optimize, right, when you build a bomb, because I have seen some cases where there are certain things which are kind of unnecessary. And again, you advise me, right, if this is working for you or not. One of the things that I typically do for customers is just to provide the foundation care, okay, next business day for core switches, if you use controller for controller hardware, and AP licenses for the controllers. AP licenses is only available with 24/7 foundation care. But for the rest, I typically just recommend you just use next business day. The reason for that is that core switches, you normally have redundant. Controller, you also have redundant. Okay, that's my recommendation anyway. Now, if you have redundant controllers, then from a support perspective, you do not require 24/7 or 4 hours hardware replacement. So get next business day. That is going to save you, considerably, right? The other thing is this question of PEF license. So here, my statement to you is that you do not need PEF license if you're using controllers and interworking with, for example, third-party HSI gateway like Nomadics or OVIs, Gastech OVI or EndLabs. Okay, if you're using those gateway boxes, even MikroTik, The MikroTik does the rate limiting. So on the Aruba controller side, there is no requirement for PF licenses. Okay, we can do client isolation with tunnel mode deployment for the SSIDs. So no PF license is required. Okay, that'll save you a lot of cost. And then mobility master is not required. Do not provision mobility master unless it's a large network over 1,000 APs or more. Okay. Just simply make sure that you have a redundant controller. That's all. Okay. And again, you run AOS 8 and have that AP fast failover capability. Okay. Now for the rest, like access switches, transceivers, APs, mount kits, simply get spares. All right, get spares so that you can just swap them. Leverage the limited lifetime warranty of the switches, transceivers, APs, to do your replacement if they become faulty. Okay, because there's no rush. Right. Ensure that you have mount kits for APs, especially with the 500 series. Today we ship the 500 series with some parts of the mounting, and so you have to get the mounting in order to complete it and to mount the AP up. Okay, for most cases for hotels, we usually use a mount called Mount D Delta. Okay, there is a mount called Mount D Delta for hospitality. Okay, for wall or ceiling mount. Because some of the mount kits for the 500 series are for what we call enterprise ceiling rails. In hotels, we don't have ceiling rails. Okay. Any optional covers if you wish to change color. Okay, factor that in. Now, if you're looking to build a total converged network for a hotel, then I would recommend using or adding ClearPass in for network access control to be able to do dynamic segmentation. Okay, this is totally optional, and like I said, we are currently doing it with brands like Peninsula and Shangri-La. So unless your hotel specifically, you're looking to create a differentiator, then this will be some consideration. There had been some vulnerabilities, security vulnerabilities in some of the core hotels that I have seen, which I feel that they're just interconnecting the admin network and the guest network, just using VLANs. It's very loose and there is no security, no network access control whatsoever, and it is just unsafe. I'll just share with you one incident just happened last year. I think was first half of last year in Phuket, when I was staying at a Grand Mercure, which is a core hotel. And there was an SSID that I was able to connect to. And once I got in there, I was in the backup house network. There was no access control whatsoever. And I could access the Opera PMS. Okay, so that's how secure it is. So think about this sort of things when you're looking to build a converged network. The other thing to look at or potentially to consider is using Aruba Central with IAPs. Okay, and if you are proposing Aruba Central with IAPs, the good thing is that you could now manage the switches and the APs, and I would recommend having 1 or 2 service tokens. So Clarity is 1 service token, okay, and the second service token is Cloud Guest. So Aruba Central, the licensing is you need to have a device management license subscription, and then that's for the number of APs and number of switches. Okay, so you just combine the total switches and APs, and that will be the device management subscriptions that you need. And then secondly is the tokens, service tokens. So I would recommend at least 1, which is Clarity. So Clarity is the one that provides the network analytics that tells you wireless, DHCP, authentication, DNS, which are the ones that are problem. Okay, and it gives you a measure of connectivity, experience of your guest. Now there are some hotels that may say, okay, I don't want to have microtik. I want to have a simple captive portal, terms and conditions, accept and go, or simple login like username and password, which I can generate manually. That sort of thing. Even generate the username and password automatically, but without connecting to PMS. You can think about using Aruba Central Cloud Guest. Okay, because we offer that, and like I mentioned earlier, Robinson's Land in the Philippines, their summit range of hotels, they used to use microtik for this captive portal. Now they just ditch it and use Central with Cloud Guest. Okay. If you're going to propose UXI, user experience sensors, the sensors to do testing, robot testing, then the rule of thumb would be 1 sensor to 5 to 10 APs. There is no hard rule. And the recommendation is, you look at your key locations. What are the sensitive locations or locations sensitive to complaints? Let's put it this way. One of them is the GM's room or suites, VIP suites, where you have high profile guests and all that stuff. Those are the kind of places that you want to put, right? Critical business areas, conference ballrooms, where you got potential for complaints. You want to be able to monitor those on a 24/7 basis through the events and activities to be able to understand, what's wrong in your network, okay, and where to fix it, so to speak. Okay. So finally, the examples on bill of materials, okay, is this is the sample, okay, and you will see there are APs on the top here. So basically, we don't get the hardware support for APs, by spares instead. So you notice that this part of the BOM, there's no service support or maintenance service, okay? You get the APs, you get a mounting kit. This is the Mount D I'm talking about for the 500 series, okay? And then on the second section, controllers, this is the next business day foundation care, okay? And the controllers are 2 quantities, right? So this is where, again, like I said, you don't need the 4 hours or 24/7 to do hardware exchange or hardware, RMA. So get the next business day, okay? And the license for the APs, okay, that is also foundation care, but it's a 24/7. That's the only option available, okay? And for the switches, these switches, they are not core switch, okay? So no hardware support for access switches, buy spares instead. Spares for transceivers, spares for switch, okay? And for the core switch, this is where you put in the hardware support. It's a pair that you use next business day. They will kind of optimize and help save a little bit, all right? So that is sort of, what, some of the things that I would do to kind of reduce the cost a little bit on your BOM, all right? So if you're not sure, feel free to approach us to vet and validate the bill of materials and your design, okay? Any questions on the bill of material part of things? All good? We are at the 3 o'clock time and we are coming in close to the end. Okay, all happy so far? Okay, last section on support. Big question, how to get support? Okay, before we get into that discussion, I want to just talk about Aruba releases and just to make sure that you understand, what sort of firmware you need to get for, the Aruba deployment. And there are 3 types of firmware or software we release: conservative releases, standard releases, and C-build. Okay, and I want to explain some of these quickly to you, just so you understand. Conservative release is something that has been deployed, considered mature, that has been deployed for a period of time in production networks without any issues. So this is considered as a gold standard. meaning the first choice to use would be a CR or conservative release version. That's the first choice. So when you look for firmware, when you want to upgrade, find the highest available conservative release to upgrade to. Okay. So any production network, if you're going to, you want a reliable one, a mature one, this is it. Okay. That is the conservative release. Now, however, this is not always possible because every firmware that we come up with starts its life as a standard release. And this is because we are, possibly introducing new features, new functionality, or new hardware platform support. So one case in mind is really the new AX-APs, the 500 series. You will not find any conservative release available that supports the 500 series simply because they are new platforms. Okay, so what will happen is basically this conservative release will go out. Some customers will have no issues. Some customers may have issues. And when there are issues, we patch it. We come up with a new standard release and we roll it out again until a point where we realize that this particular standard release has been out there for quite some time. And it didn't seem like there were a lot of bugs or complaints related to this release. Then we will call it or promote it to a conservative release. And that is when it gets tagged as a conservative release. And this is where it becomes mature. Okay, that is how it works. So for now, if you're going to deploy new hotels that you're proposing the new AX, you will not find any conservative possibly available, at least for a few months. So just no choice. In this case, you have to go with a standard release, and just be aware that there could be problems. It could be also without problems. So it's just something that you want to be aware of. Okay. So if you're looking for a CR for 500 series support, you will not find it. Okay. Finally, you get this C-build. So C-build is a acronym for customer build. And this is very specific. And this is okay, let's put it this way. I would hope that nobody would ever have to use a C-build, okay, ever. Okay, because C-build means that we are in deep trouble. Okay, if a customer, for whatever reason, installed something that no other customer had problems with, but it only happened with this customer. And this is a big customer, they are influential, they're strategic, whatever reason, this customer is important. That is when this will escalate and they will go up to our management and they will have the engineering build a specific version for this customer. There are no workarounds. So we need to build a specific, version. So this will be specific to this customer. It is out of cycle, and it's used as a temporary bridge until whatever the feature or the function is adopted into a standard release. Okay, so when we do C builds, it's going to be a rapid turnover in terms of test cycles. So it's not going to be as robust, obviously, because we're trying to just address a specific problem. Okay, so hopefully we'll never get to C builds. Okay. Now, the next is that I hope all of you have access to ASP, Aruba Support Portal. Okay, anybody who doesn't have, please flag it out. Okay, put it in the chat window. Ashish will follow up with you. Go and sign up for a free account in Aruba Support Portal, because this is where you can open support cases. This is where you can get software and documentation. Okay, and also your licensing. So if you had purchased licenses, the hotel rather has purchased licenses, they will be they will get I think some certificate ID or something like that they need to go into the licensing section and get the license key with the certificate ID. Okay, and it also contains this thing called innovation zone, which allows you as partners to contribute ideas like your wish list, your feature requests. Okay, you can contribute that. All right. So this is important, in terms of opening cases and all that. Now, having said that, when you open a case, okay, I just want to set the expectation, okay? do not expect that our tech will know that this is very urgent, because all our cases are all very urgent, right? Because it's a gas complaint. And I can tell you, our tech is programmed to, there's a certain procedure, and they will ask for logs, they will ask for details, the topology, network diagram, a lot of stuff, which I'm sure you will have no time to give it to them, okay? Because number one, you can't even collect the logs, the gas is already gone. You can't reproduce the problem, or maybe you can reproduce the problem, but you don't have access to the controller, so you cannot get the logs. You have to get somebody else, to access the controller to get the logs. So there are, I've seen things like this happen. So whenever you open a case, all right, you're going to get a reply, an acknowledgement. A tech engineer would definitely reach out to you in a very short time. Okay, that I can vouch for. Our response is actually pretty fast from that perspective. Okay, but they may not be necessarily intelligent responses. Okay, what I want you to do is then look at this line at the bottom here. It says, if you're not satisfied with the progress of this case, please send your request for escalation to Aruba escalations@hpe.com. So take advantage of this. The minute you get a response, just reply, copy this email, add to the to list, and then CC to me and say, I want this case escalated. This is urgent. Our customers are complaining. Got it? Because when this happens, I will understand what's going on. I will be able to help coordinate with our tech so that we can, look at workarounds if there are, identify if it's a configuration issue, because I will be able to assess that very quickly compared to the tech, okay? Because they will be asking for logs first and foremost. Without the logs, they're not going to be able to assess the situation, all right? And for me, I will be able to assess whether it's a design issue, whether it's a configuration issue, or a product issue. And in many cases, you will find there, majority of the cases fall under design and configuration, less of a product. So with this in mind, then I will be able to, coordinate it with the tech and have them understand it faster, and make sure that either I provide a workaround so that we can advise you guys what to do, work around it, reconfigure it differently or stuff like that, or to narrow down to the logs that only there's only sufficient or required to resolve that issue. Okay, or find a way to replicate it in another environment that allows the tech to resolve it. Okay, so I just want to share with you this information so that you don't, kind of sit around waiting for tech to get back and ask you for logs, and you try to spend a few days to collect the logs and send it out to tech, another few days to analyze it and come back, and that by the time 1-2 weeks gone. You understand? Clear? So I'm here for you, and if you have any doubts, feel free. We work together. All right. So that is what I have for today. And we are at 3:10, my time at least. So we are about 20 minutes ahead of time. And I want to just open up for any questions from anyone. All good? Happy? Okay. Sure, all good. Okay, cool. No questions. There had been quite a lot of questions through there. I hope I've answered them. Okay, if not, follow up on email. We can discuss a little bit more. Yeah, and if all good, then I have nothing else for you, except that tomorrow we will have to begin on time. Tomorrow is a little longer in content because it's somewhat technical, and for those sales guys, I also encourage you to join because it is interesting tomorrow's session. I want you to understand the difficulties and the kind of things that we deal with um, in in all these engagements. And you if you're armed with those information, your engagement with your customer will be better off. I can tell you that. Then you don't have to be blindsided by the customer. You also have a better understanding of how to set customer expectations. Okay, so important for the project managers and the sales, even though you're not technical, sit in, okay, because I will be able to share with you some of these things and challenges, and hopefully explain in a way that you understand easier. Okay, Wi-Fi is difficult. Okay, it's very invisible. Okay, somebody asks, share email ID. So yes, I will. And my email ID, actually, I have a QR code here. If you want to access it, you can scan that QR code. My phone number is there. You can connect on WhatsApp, Viber, or Line. I am available. I'm all yours. Okay, do you have attendance sheet for email ID collection to share the presentation? If you have received the email invite, then I would be able to see it, and I think Ashish would also be able to see it too on the invite.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so we will do a reply all on that invitation. Tomorrow's session has a separate link. So don't confuse and use today's link, because when you get in there tomorrow, there'll be nobody there. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
make sure
shared.
you have the right link.
Yeah, both the links are shared.
Right. Great. Okay. So if no questions, then that's great. We can all end a little early, have our lunch. You guys can have your lunch. I will have my half lunch because I ate one half earlier before I jump on the call. Okay. And tomorrow we'll have a lot more fun. I guarantee you. All right. Okay, great. In that
Yep.
case, thank you very much. And thank you, Ashish, for organizing
Yep.
this.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. I will
Yep.
see you again tomorrow.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank
Thanks, Ashish.
you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Surya.
I will have some quiz questions for tomorrow too. So just to make sure that people kind of pay attention,
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, then I will stop the recording and we can end the meeting. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.